What happened in my family is, in our situation, is that we lived, I guess, approximately 3 or 4 years after my mother died. My father did the best he could. And he finally, he just couldn't do it anymore. He was gone. He'd come back. My oldest sister, she was only like 12 or 13. She was taking care of us. And the neighbors would see this because we had to go to school, because we'd be hungry. I remember many nights waking up and being so hungry and not finding one thing to eat in the house. And I remember in winters like this where, you know, we'd go to the store, we'd take a wagon and horse, and you know, or sleigh and horse, and we'd go all the way to the store, and basically to beg to the storekeeper to give us enough food to survive. My dad would come back and he'd have walked for miles and miles, and you know, with a pack sack, and he'd bring what food he could and try to pay up the bills, you know, and if the trapping season was bad, he didn't have money. So the neighbors started seeing, you know, how we lived, and they started reporting us to social services. When social services started showing up at our house, then my dad took us and we started the process of hiding, of going from one relative to the next, and you know, sometimes living in a tent out in the bush. But there came a point when my dad recognized that he couldn't raise 8 kids living like this. And I think that's the point when he gave up and started drinking. And one day foster care showed up. We were at my sister's place, 3 cars, and they came in and they just loaded us up. You know, my brothers and sisters, the older ones in one vehicle, and me and my 2 younger siblings were in another vehicle. And we were told to wave goodbye, and we didn't see each other again for many years.
So how did you guys reconnect again?
My dad kept in touch with us. You know, social services finally got permanent guardianship of us. But I give my dad credit, he kept in touch with us, you know, through letter, he'd always know where we were. And he'd let us know where our brothers and sisters were. We didn't see each other, but we knew we were there. And a few times my father did manage to bring the older ones out to see us. But I can remember, I think, about 3 times during that time. And I was with my 2 younger brothers for approximately 2 years, and then they split us up because they told us that because we were too close, and we kept taking care of each other. Whenever there was trouble, it would create problems in the foster home. So they took me and moved me away from the 2 younger ones. And then I didn't see them till they were adults also. Mm-hmm. So I went into many foster homes. And in those days, when they didn't have a foster home for you, like a place to keep you, a lot of times they'd put you into an institution for a period of time. And the more I moved around, the more angry I got, and started learning things from other foster kids or the older ones who were angry. And then in the 60s, they started the group homes. And in group homes, basically what we were is they'd have a basement, and half a dozen of us, especially in the cities, like I was in Regina, and one of the first group homes, and there was 8 of us in the basement. We weren't allowed to come upstairs except for a meal, and other than that, we lived in the basement. Well, you put 8 young people who've come through foster care together, and really nobody gives a damn what you do, you know, as long as you're there at lunchtime. Other than that, we never saw the foster parents. You're supposed to go to school. Well, if we didn't go to school, you know, so what, you know, kind of thing. And we started getting into trouble. So we'd start hanging out together and getting into trouble, and the older ones who already were in trouble would get us involved, and that's when I started getting into gangs and get the street life, stealing, and in more organized way than what I used to do earlier. And being in the city, access to money, access to stealing, and different ways. It came to a thing where you didn't recognize you were doing wrong. The same as children today who come through the street, the foster care system and everything, they don't recognize they're doing something wrong. They're surviving. We don't give them many tools. We just give them the tools to survive. There's no love. There's no do things this way. Foster parents try to do it, but you talk to any of these kids, they've been in anywhere from 10 to 20 foster homes. So where is the tools they need to become adults or good adults to society's standards? It don't happen. And I work, like I say, I work a lot in prisons. Basically working with these guys, I don't care if they've committed 3 murders or they've done this or what they've done. The thing is, when I sit down and I talk with them, I come from the same place they do. And once I take them through the program, and basically that program is giving them the understanding of where their problems started, of walking them through their childhood again to see where their life went wrong, and giving them the tools to be able to know the difference between right and wrong. Because they don't. It's simple. They do not know the difference between right and wrong. There's a standard set by the prison system that if you do wrong, you go to prison. But there's a whole different lifestyle and standard set by when you live on the street. And it's about survival. And so once I work with them and I take them through that process and they see, how they can change their life, then you have a huge success rate of doing things right. I do a program through Native Counseling Services called In Search of Your Warrior. And what it is, it's taking them back for them to see why and how their problem started. And it's giving them the tools how to walk and live in a good way. And we have, on a national level, we have a 79% success rate that these boys who come out of this program and come on the street, whether they're doing life or whether they're doing any kind of violence at all, they never commit an offense violently again. They may get in trouble and come back to prison, but they don't use violence. On the West Coast, that success rate is 97%, that they never commit another violent offense. And this program works. Now the communities are asking us to develop it, to bring it into the communities because there's so much violence. But we know how to fix our own problems. We as Aboriginal people, because we've lived those problems. But to have people come in and listen to us about our problems and then tell us how we should live doesn't work. It don't work. What we need to do is we need to train and work with each other, and we go out and work those front lines and prevent this foster care, prevent this violence, prevent. Kids do drugs, why? Because they're not wanted. They feel unloved. And they turn to something that is going to make them forget about living. It's no different whether you're a foster kid or not. And the streets are full of kids, that are not loved, not cared for.